I think we just went live. I need to go over here. Let me know in the chat, you guys, when you can hear me. Hi, everybody. Happy March. Oh. Just gonna give it a second. Hey, Janelle. Okay, I see you in the chat over here, but okay, good. It came over here. Hi, Janelle. Hi, everybody. I'm just gonna give it a second for people to hop in. I'm gonna do my little like spiel for YouTube. Hi, YouTube. So this is one of my Patreon videos that I do every month for my patrons. Hi, patrons. Over on the Cosmic Alliance, and I release it halfway through each month on YouTube. So if this is something that you have been enjoying, consider joining the Cosmic Alliance. My Patreon is linked below. And I have several different tiers where we dive much deeper into lunations or rabbit holes. I just did one on Atlantis, which I released for every single patron level. So you can join right now, even at the lowest tier, which is like $3 a month, I think. It might be $3.33. And gain immediate access to my Atlantis rabbit hole. It's the first installment of many, but it's a deep one. It's definitely a deep one. So I recommend checking that out. I'm just going to check in with the chat really quick. Hi, everybody. Hi, Janelle. Hi, Josie. You can hear me good. I have my mic here. I also have my camera on something separate, so hopefully it's not like shaking the whole time every time I touch my computer. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Anna. I hear you just saw Kelly. So exciting. Everybody's meeting each other in real life. I adore you guys. And the Cosmic Alliance is a super supportive community where you also, with every single tier, gain access to our Discord chat rooms, where everybody just chats with each other about all kinds of magical stuff, magical and weird. And yeah, it's really amazing. So Josie says, I'm gonna just listen more than anything today. Feeling pretty meh. Phew. Yeah, I feel that. I'm a little nervous because you guys know I'm like Virgo rising, Virgo Mars. I usually have like a whole bunch of notes where I've like decoded the cosmos and I have it like all prepared, but I'm more kind of winging it. Although I have a couple of things that I definitely laid out that I would like to touch on. Yeah, we'll get there. Jessica says, all day I kept forgetting about tonight, and then I'd get excited every time I'd remember. LOL. Yay. Hi, Jessica. Anna says, yes, so amazing. And, oh, find me in the stars. Hi, Sam. Welcome. Sam just joined Patreon today. That's another thing. So we do have a couple of new patrons. So I just want to give my little spiel. That word is not coming out right, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. About all the things that are linked below. So I just uploaded our monthly calendar, and that'll be linked below the Patreon post for this. And there is a PDF that you can download or a JPEG. The PDF looks much better. I recommend downloading that one. But I mean, if the JPEG works for you, go for it. For those of you here on YouTube, it'll be a slide that you can screenshot, but the resolution's not as great. Also linked below is our Astrologers Apprentice cheat sheet, which I highly recommend printing out and putting in like little, what are those little things called that you like clear sleeves to use every single time that we're out here. Have your natal chart, your calendar, a pen, take notes, any sort of like days that are coming up, anything that comes through for you. You guys know I like you to be active in this. And then anytime I'm talking about a sign, go and look and see what house that activates in your chart, and you can reference the Astrologer's Apprentice cheat sheet for a little insight as to like what area is being activated. If you have any planets there, you can look that planet up on the same cheat sheet and see how that might be like coming into your reality, like the actor that's playing this part. And yeah, that's what's linked below. So Janelle says, oh yeah, we're actually going to be talking about the time change here because I think I found like a major conspiracy today, but we'll touch on that when we get in here. Jessica says that her and Janelle were thinking the same thing, and everybody is welcoming each other. Hi guys. All right, so I'm going to go over to the slides and we will get started. I think you guys should still be able to hear me. I'm going to put my camera back on once we get through a couple of these. Janelle says, everyone new, get a folder for all your goodies and notes. Janelle says that she puts her charts in front of my binder. Yes, I have a binder as well, where I have like my charts and like my family's charts, my Astrologers Apprentice cheat sheet, which I reference often, and any sort of like notes and things like that I keep in a binder, and then you just have to like grab it for things like this. You can have your calendar there, notebook. Thank you for that, Janelle. Good. Okay, so this is a picture of our thumbnail, and you guys know I always like to have a bunch of stuff in here for you guys. Like to sum it up in like one little sentence, and this month it is a moment of equilibrium. And just a couple of moments ago I was like, I want to go in there and put a question mark after that, but it was already all put together, and so I didn't. But if I could make this again after pondering things all day, I would write a moment of equilibrium question mark, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. We also have a Supragalactic center alignment this month through opposition. I guess it's actually on Sam, Find Me in the Stars' birthday. She's born on the spring equinox, and I am born opposite that, with my sun also aligned with this point in Libra. My birthday falls on the last day of Mabon, so it falls on the 29th, but that's so rad. She says that she feels like I felt such a breath of fresh air when March started. Yes, me too, for sure. And it also helps that like just the way my chart is laid out, certain signs you feel more comfortable in. So yeah, I always feel better in spring. My Libra needs the balance. I don't do well in extreme polarities. Okay, so over on the side, I have some pictures. I wish I could point at this, but you guys know my cursor doesn't work. By the way, if anybody knows how to make a cursor work in the streaming software, OBS, on a slideshow, please let me know. I can get it to work in every other program, but for some reason on the slideshow, I can't, and I don't understand these gamers. They're so confusing. But anyway, so up in the top left corner, these are all megalithic structures across our globe that align to particularly the equinox points, but many of these also align to the solstice points as well through like different alignments. And if you guys have followed me for a while, you've heard me talk about how the ancients knew that these periods, these days were very important, and they went extremely out of their way to encode that memory into the earth through giant blocks, giant megalithic, megaton stone blocks to harness this energy and pinpoint it and encapsulate that in like a time capsule. Stone lasts forever. And they all align with these points. So the one up in the left-hand corner is actually in Malta. It's a megalithic structure in Malta on the Maltese Islands, which is in the Mediterranean, kind of like over by Italy. is actually, up until Göbekli Tepe was discovered, purposefully buried so we can carbon date it to like roughly 12,000 years ago, it was considered the oldest megalithic structure. It's dated by like mainstream archaeologists to like 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, although I'm sure it's much older. Malta is also the island that houses the Hypogeum, which is a massive subterranean megalithic cavern system that like was 3 levels and housed thousands of people. There was like 7,000 people actually buried there that they found like the remains of, but there was room for tons of people to live after a cataclysm where like the surface was no longer habitable. It also has like a healing chamber. So depending on who you get the information from, some people will say that it resonates to 110 hertz, and then some people will say 111 hertz. I've heard 110 by like actual archaeoacoustic, like archaeologists who study archaeoacoustics. They say 110 hertz, but a lot of people like to round it up to 111, and I think it's probably because it sounds better. But encoded in this structure was not only these solstice points, these equinox points, particularly the equinox, but also healing chambers for like chanting and harnessing certain frequencies. All of these structures here, I believe, are all Atlantean refuge points. Civilizations that started after the fall, and they all held like fractals of this like ancient truth, but they like were divided by ideologies because this was after people fractalized off with different mindsets. So that's how I think all of these were created, many of the megalithic structures that we know of today. Next to that on the right, obviously, that's Stonehenge in England. We know lots of things about Stonehenge, so I don't really need to go into that. Below that is Newgrange in Ireland, and that has a shaft of light come through, and it hits a bunch of blocks that have like Celtic spirals ingrained on them. And I really think that these megalithic structures were there to track not only these solstice points but also the precession of the equinoxes. And I think they are tracking these moments that we are in now, when these points, these equinox points and these solstice points align with our black holes. And that's why I think you always find a spiral. There's many other pictures that I could have put here of different structures that have spirals, but I mean, I only had so much room. And then next to that, I'm going to try my best to pronounce this right. Chichen Itza, I think. Chichen Itza, Mexico. I mean, I know how to write it and spell it, but I have never actually said it out loud. I know how to read it in my head. But twice a year on the spring and autumn equinox, you see the light reflect off the side of this pyramid in Mexico, a Mayan pyramid in Mexico, and it's known as the return of the sun serpent, where the feathered serpent descends down and light, like darkness gives way to light, and we enter out of the like dark half of the year and into the more lighter half of the year. So that's why I picked these images. I always like to tie it back to like our ancient ancestors and these like ancient truths and what it was they were trying to show us. I recommend watching my Atlantis video because I dived into like the concept of the black holes a lot more there as well. And then of course that's what is in the middle of this picture is the black hole, because during this time our sun and actually Venus at the same time will oppose the Supragalactic center. This only happens twice a year. This year, Venus will be right there as well. And it's going to be a very powerful moment. I talked a lot about how, due to precession, the time frame of where the Atlantean fall may have been or is calculated to have been, the end of the last ice age, dates back to half a precessional cycle. And so we are in similar alignments now, and we're playing these same karmic patterns out. And we're really in a time during March where we are going to be having alignments with Atlantis again. The sun will oppose it. And so we're having these timelines very much cross, and we're being asked to like heal and upgrade. Okay, so this is our calendar. Feel free to take a screenshot and use it throughout the month. We're going to go through this when we go through the chart, so I'm not going to get into it now. I'm just going to go over the color keys so you know what the colors are. The pink ones are our live streams. So the ones throughout the month for Patreon, depending on what tier you're on, you may have access to these or you may not. The blue ones, like the light bright blue ones, are our lunations. So we have one on the 13th, one on the 28th. The yellow ones are like major planetary shifts, or like really transits that you might feel. Not so much maybe like a sextile or something like that that's more easygoing, but like conjunctions and squares that it's like, okay, this one's a bigger deal. The green ones are starseed activations with planetary bodies or black holes throughout the month. The ones down at the bottom are ones that we're feeling like all month or for like an extended period of time. And then the blue ones that you see throughout the whole chart down at the bottom is the moon's transit throughout the entire month and the starseed point that it activates on that day. So this is like an experiment we've been doing over here on Patreon, where we've been trying to find ways to integrate this lunar energy with this like cosmic energy and find a balance and kind of like ascend past the like turbulent emotions that the moon is also known for, and find a way to like work with her in an ascended fashion. And so and also she's the closest planetary body to us and our intuitive abilities. So more likely than not, intuitive hits that are coming through the day, if they're coming from a certain star consciousness or whatever it may be, we're more likely than not filtering them through our lunar energies. So we've been working with this throughout the month, and I'm definitely feeling it. Like I'm definitely seeing how things connect, and it's tripping me out. I like it. So this is something I'm going to continue to do. So the blue ones at the bottom are the transits throughout the month. Okay, so really quick, below my Patreon is, I always forget to do this. My Patreon is linked below. If you'd like to join, there's a link for you to join below. Also, please take a moment to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. The likes really help to boost the algorithm, which, doesn't like me. Let's be real here. And also linked below is my website where I have like magical stuff, readings, crystals, talisman, just all kinds of stuff. So feel free to check that out as well. Okay, so we will come back to that. We're going to go over to solar fire. Hi guys. Okay. So I'm not going to be able to see you guys because I'm going to have to go over to the software so I can like change this stuff. Janelle says, yes, I love this so much. I reference it throughout the month. Last month I didn't stay consistent, but I use it also with my journal to compare my day, etc. Oh, I love that. I use it when I use it to know like my posts, because I have the ones circled, the ones I want to be like, oh, I want to write something about that. I want to sit down and like channel that energy. A lot of other ones I just let kind of pass. And then when like something will happen, or like I'll make some bunch of connections, or like a day will be really like profound in some way, I'll be like, who is that? Who is helping me with that? You know what I mean? And I'll check it for that. And it's always like, oh, I could see that. I can see that with the energy, Okay, so I'm going to go over to my software. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't know when I go over there. can't see the chat to know for sure, but we're just gonna roll with it. I'll come check on you guys in a couple of minutes. Okay, so we're just gonna go through the month really quick, and we're just gonna go give a brief overview of like what to expect, and we'll dive into the equinox a little bit, some technicalities, and I pulled a card for like an overall archetype. And yeah, we're gonna keep it kind of simple, but you know, I always kind of go off on tangents. Like I just talked about Malta forever, and I held back. I was gonna be like, oh no, I was gonna get all like occult and esoteric too, and take you down a conspiracy rabbit hole. But we'll leave that for another time. Okay, so this month, I always kind of look and see. I mean, always, we've been doing this for 3 months, but the last 3 months, the way I've kind of looked at the month that I've outlined, I see like, what is the like energy it's starting on, and what is the energy that it's ending on. Last month was a lot of like Draco energy, and this month it's the Supragalactic center. So not only are we having one of our yearly alignments with it, but it starts with the moon aligned with that point, and it aligns with that point around like the 28th, 29th again, because the moon's orbit is 28 days, not 31, which is how many are in this month. So that's kind of like the core energy of this month. And then we have our Sun and Venus opposition this month as well. March is a lot like easier of a month. Most of like the transits throughout the month, we have a lot of like sextiles, which are like easier energies, like trines. They're going to require some like work to get the benefit of that planetary energy, like coming in contact with each other. Like the sextiles could kind of just come and pass, and you can like harness them. You know, they require you to take some sort of like effort. So we have a lot of those. We also have a lot of like transits to the nodes. So we're really feeling a kind of almost like we're in a like honorary eclipse season. It's almost like we're in that weird sort of like portal-y energy where you're like between time and space. We're still in a lot of Piscean energy, which already kind of puts us there. We have things happening with Neptune, and then we're activating these lunar nodes that are playing out this 18th month eclipse story throughout the houses that are ruled by Gemini and Sagittarius, and they're being hit this month a lot. And so it's kind of triggering that story for us. It's bringing us back into that like weird split timeline energy where we're being redirected and work is going to be required, particularly to lean into that North Node energy. It's going to require some effort, but the energy kind of shifts to where we're okay almost even putting in some of the effort, especially once we shift into Aries season. Now we're gonna have to be careful not to like burn out, or just like, yeah, I guess burn out would be good. Fizzle out would be later. Like combust and then have nothing left is actually what I want to say. Not just like burn out because we went for too long, but like go too hard too quick and then have nothing left. We want to be able to like sustain the energy, but Saturn does come to help a little bit. And then the end of the month we have some Chiron stuff, so we're going to have some more work to do. But for the most part, the energy is about this like moment of equilibrium that we can totally obtain even against the odds that are being thrown at us. So I went off on a tip. We were talking about March 1st, which is already past. And the moon is going to be aligned with the Supragalactic center that day. So that's really what leads us into this month. That's why we're already kind of feeling this shift and this energy, because the month kind of started off on like this like balanced, harmonious foot. On the 2nd, Mercury trines the North Node. We get one of those first North Node activations that I was talking about, and it's Mercury. So it's happening very much in our conscious mind, in our thinking processes. Mercury is now direct, so this probably had something to do with whatever it was you were asked to re-evaluate during this Mercury retrograde cycle. Look and see what house is ruled by Aquarius in your chart. That's probably the area that's been a focus, and it's been playing off of this these nodes. These nodes are where we are being guided over this 18-month period, and a lot of the other transits are really helping us to initiate those. These are fated, destined things. This is our next chapter, and Mercury was like asking us to retreat inward and reevaluate something. He's still in his shadow period, so we're still integrating a lot of what that something is, but you've seen some stuff, and now he's kind of like passing the torch on to these lunar nodes, and he's like, okay, I learned this, and now I can start to move in this direction. I seen that I was leaning too far this way, and I've recalibrated, and now I'm more on this track, back on track, and it's a new track. It's something that I couldn't see yet because I wasn't initiated into that level of consciousness. We've been reinitiated. Mercury is that alchemist, and we've done a sort of like inner process to where we are different now. Our consciousness has shifted. He was very much there to shift our consciousness, and now we see from a different perspective, and we can take the next step. We're going to be taking a lot of steps. We've taken a lot during Pisces season when it comes to like shedding and letting things go in preparation for all of the steps that we're going to take once spring starts and we're in Aries season. So that's kind of where we're at. We're kind of in that limbo of like endings and beginnings. So on the 3rd, Mars entered Gemini. This was a breath of fresh air for many of us. For others, maybe not so much, depending on what kind of placements you have there. It's going to hit my Chiron later, so I'll feel it eventually. But right now, he's on top of my midheaven, so it did give me a little bit of like that push to pull myself out of the Piscean existential dread and dissociation and just completely retreating into the cosmic womb of the void and not really paying attention to the outside world or even like hiding from responsibilities altogether. And that Mars shift into Gemini really helped us to step into that masculine energy to help kind of start to bring this balance that we're approaching upon, that we're going to really feel when we feel that moment of equilibrium that the equinox brings. We also had Venus sextiling Uranus that day. So if you were putting in some sort of effort, it might have really been around like Venusian type things, like beautifying, creating through like art, things like that. If you took some sort of like initiative to liberate yourself in some shape or form through probably like beauty, harmony type of things around that time, you could have awoken some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for here? New level of new perception, because Uranus is that like higher mind energy. He's really trying to like push us forward in this futuristic with his futuristic mind. He's trying to push us forward in a progressive fashion for our future. Mercury is very much channeling this Aquarius energy right now as well. We had our Jupiter-Saturn conjunction there. The focus is very much on this. Uranus and Taurus is helping to break us free from some sort of like stagnant energy. And Venus kind of came in with a little bit of that like balance, harmony, and creativity that we needed in order to liberate ourselves from some of that like denser energy around the 3rd. I'm going to come check in with the chat really quick before I go on to where we're almost to where we're actually at, the 5th. Jessica says, I could see that. It feels super faded energy right now. Yes, it does. And I think it's like a lot of weird timeliney stuff because we have this Neptune, which is that planet that takes us into all those other weird realms and dimensions that are beyond time and space, opposing Atlantis. And many of us have that Atlantis asteroid. Every single starseed chart that I've done since I put that on, since my last launch, and I started using the Atlantis asteroid as well, has a major conjunction with that planet in their chart somewhere. Usually on a node or like a sun or a moon, like something big. And I'm just like, wow, I'm not even surprised anymore. I think many of us are here to like write this timeline, and it's so coming up right now. And I feel like a lot of the faded stuff is really tying to a lot of that energy. Jessica says she loves my tangents. Keep them coming. I mean, I'm sure they will continue to come. I'm pretty sure they're not going anywhere. Okay, so yesterday we had Mercury conjunct Jupiter. So Mercury, it was later in the day. I'm not going to change the time here to get it exact, but it was later in the afternoon. This is around midnight. Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Aquarius. So I had a post about this, and then I went off a whole rabbit hole dive into like my ancestry, and did Mercury conjunct Jupiter yesterday. And it really helped solidify some of what Mars moving into Gemini helped ignite. And it was some of that like a mental energy that we really needed. We've been really in our feelings. We've been really in our psychic, intuitive abilities through Pisces season. And we really needed that like initiation of that like masculine energy that is the air and fire. And Mars brings some of that, but really we're in that more airy energy with Gemini and Aquarius. And with yesterday, Jupiter conjunct Mercury, I felt that very much. I told you guys, go learn something, go read something, go study something, go try to quiet your mind, because a lot of that energy, a lot of those connections were just going to come to you. A lot of this may have been aha moments in regards to that Mercury retrograde story that played out in the house ruled by Aquarius in your chart. Or it can just be really weird shit about weird parallel timelines and your screwed up family history, if you're me. Because I went down a rabbit hole. And I'm noticing that on that day, the moon was conjunct with Arcturus on the 2nd, by the way. We kind of skipped over that. I'm not really having anything that I want to kind of touch on that subject, but maybe you were into like symbols around that day. Arcturus always speaks through symbolism. But yesterday, the moon traveled over Serpens, which is the serpent in the grasp of Ophiuchus, who kind of like guards that galactic center, right? It guards the gold, but first you have to work with a lot of that shadow, and a lot of that is connected to our ancestry and our lineage. It runs through our bloodlines, and I was definitely working on a lot of that personally in my life, but whatever it was definitely very mental yesterday. We have now made it to today, ladies and gentlemen. Our sun squares the North Node today. So this is another one of those nodal activations that I was talking about this month. When planets come into a square aspect with each other, this is that 90-degree angle that you guys hear me talk about all the time. When planets are either in a conjunction, opposition, or a square, that 90-degree energy is said to manifest things into reality. The planets are said to be like in conflict with one another. They have like different desires that are at odds. But that conflict is needed in order for some sort of like action to be taken. So we're feeling that right now, and a lot of this action is playing out in those houses that are ruled by Gemini and Sagittarius. This is a main focus for us. This is where we're going to be having the eclipses later this year. This is where they were last year. We've already had this story start to play out. I'm sure you guys are looking to see what those houses are in your chart right now. If you're not, I highly recommend doing that. And you're going, oh yeah, this has been changing in that house for me. Oh yeah, I'm being asked to let go of this. Oh, this new story is starting out. A new chapter is playing here. And around this time and throughout this month, a lot of triggers are happening in order for the preparation of what these like big shifts, because eclipses bring like drastic change, often unexpected, a lot like Uranus energy, where it's just like, oh, okay, we're doing that now, you know, type of thing. And a lot of the preparation is being done throughout this month. Mars conjuncts the Pleiades around this time as well. It's like over a couple of day time span over here. I would say it would be in conjunction with the Pleiades. But I would say it would be exact maybe around yesterday and today. Whenever the Pleiades is activated for me, it really does bring in that mental energy that I was talking about. But it asks us to balance it with the heart. And it asks us to like move into that like higher heart chakra where we can balance the two and like truly discern above the influence of our emotions and our traumas, and from a total place of balance and harmony. While here in this third dimension, we need to have both of these polarities. And the Pleiades, I believe, is one of the star systems that helps us to find that, because they've found it. They're a little bit, their consciousness is more balanced and like androgynous in energy. And they're one of the ones that really help us to find that. And I think that's another reason why we're feeling this balanced energy. Even though we're still in Pisces season, we haven't made it to this equinox point. We're already kind of feeling this moment of equilibrium around us, because we have the different transmissions coming in from other places asking us to find the same sort of energy. And the moon starts to transit over Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus. I don't ever really even know how to pronounce that, what is considered right. I'm sure it's probably neither of those. But during this time. And so that is triggering that same sort of energy of integrating the lower like reptilian aspect in order to obtain that gold, obtain the magic, find that sovereignty and that inner power, so that you can become one with that galactic consciousness and then ascend to cosmic consciousness. I think first we have to integrate all these aspects of the self that are manifested through all the other stars in our star system, that really help us to ascend beyond the confines of our solar system, which I do believe rules the matrix. I really believe that if you stick to just basic astrology and you don't work with any of the fixed stars, you guys know I'm really big on as above, so below. So I want to work with all of it, particularly the black holes, because they are super important. We know where they are, so why not use them? But you need to start to integrate all of these. And when you reclaim all these aspects of self, I think you ascend to that like galactic consciousness, and then you can really tap into the cosmic consciousness. And Ophiuchus is really there to help us do that. That is the initiation point for that. And that was today. So I felt that. I had a lot of like Saggy vibes, where it was like that like higher philosophical mind really like pondering a lot of these things today. And I always feel that for me that really channels through Ophiuchus energy. My moon and my Uranus are conjunct the head of Ophiuchus, and I always like to think it's like his third eye. It's like him after he integrated the wisdom that serpent holds, and now he's one with that energy, and is using it to ascend and not descend, which that energy can do as well. So tomorrow, our sun opposes Atlantis and the moon conjuncts the galactic center. I'm going to come check in with the chat really quick and make sure you guys can still hear me. I'm always afraid it's going to cut out and I'll talk for like ever without noticing. And Josie says the 3-3 portal was a freaking trip. Yeah, that was when it kind of started for me, was around that. And then it went into yesterday. And still today, I'm making like a whole bunch of weird connections about my family. Josie says she's needing this right now. Thank you. Aww. And Sam says, LOL, my Venus return was yesterday and today, and constant messages about freedom. Yes, that's where we're at. And I think that the focus is always really on like the solstices more so than the equinoxes. And I think the equinoxes are that because they're that balanced. The solstices are the peaks of polarity, right? The winter solstice is the peak of darkness, and the summer solstice is the peak of light. They're the extremes that are always at odds, like that rubber band that are going to pull. And the equinoxes are when those two are balanced. And we'll get into this when I get to the slide. I'm just going to do a couple more days, and then I'm going to tell you my theory and the conspiracy that I found today to hijack this time of balance and harmony. And that's why I wanted to add the question mark, because I'm on to them. But we'll get there in a second. Okay. Focus, Ellie. Okay. Okay, so tomorrow, the sun here at 15, well, it'll be at 14. Oh, I thought it was. Oh, because Atlantis is retrograde. Okay, so somewhere around today and tomorrow, I'm not going to find the exact time. The sun will oppose Atlantis retrograde. So you guys can go back and read my post on Instagram about Atlantis retrograde. I actually recommend doing it around this time. I'm going to write a post about this too on the day when I can like really feel the energy. But Atlantis has been retrograde and will be retrograde and will go direct on April 30th on Beltane. And we've been in this, I mean, I have been, and I've pulled you guys in it with me because you guys watched my rabbit hole. And oh, by the way, I just made live, because I totally forgot, and Chiron reminded me, and then I forgot again. But I just made live a playlist on YouTube that I've been like compiling of all kinds of like Atlantis videos that I've watched, and I've watched way more, but I started making this playlist late, and so I'm still adding to it. It'll probably be a never-ending playlist, seeing as though that's how I spend my nights. But go ahead, go through and watch those if you want to like dive deeper into this rabbit hole. I just want to preface it with saying is not a single one of those videos do I agree with 100%. More often than not, I probably disagree with most of it, but if I put it in there, it's because there was something valuable that I was like, oh, that was valuable. Oh, that was helpful. Oh, that helped me connect these dots. So have discernment when watching anything in regards to Atlantis and the occult and esoterica and things like that, because you know, everybody's just trying to figure it out, and we're all looking at it from a certain perspective. So anyway, that playlist is live, and now would be a good time to go back and read my Atlantis retrograde post, because that's kind of where we're at. And I talked a lot about how, I'm going to get so censored. This is the one I'm releasing out onto YouTube too, but I talked a lot about how America was founded by occultists who followed Sir Francis Bacon's theory of New Atlantis. And from the beginning, that's what they were trying to create, is a utopian New World Order epicenter for New Atlantis. And their plan has actually worked pretty perfectly, seen as though we're almost there right now. And I talked a lot about how Atlantis was the first like world order. It's arguable that Lemuria may have been like maritime as well and all over the entire globe. But I think the focus right now is more on this Atlantean energy and trying to integrate the wisdom that Lemuria held. I forgot what I was saying. I was talking about the sun is opposite Atlantis. Oh, we are here now. And so a lot of the parallels of that time we are playing out because it was designed for us to play that out because our country is ran by occultists. And those of us who have connections to this time are very much being activated right now so that we can take action and we can make different decisions. And so we're having to process a lot of, the things we may have gone through during this time, any sort of karma connected to that for us. And this Atlantis retrograde has really shown us a lot. Now, it's been showing it to us through Neptune, as Neptune has been opposing it all the way back since before our previous eclipses, which was really when this asteroid started coming into my consciousness and I really started using it in all my readings and posts, was before our last eclipse season. It's been speaking to us through Neptune, which is like very psychic and illusionary, slightly delusional, but very mystical and magical and intangible. And so it's been hard to really get like a clear and concise like understanding of things, and really like seed it into like the forefront of our consciousness to be able to like truly comprehend and understand. And the sun not only coming into a conjunction with Neptune on the 10th, but also opposing Atlantis. The sun is almost like gonna go conjunct Neptune and like shine light and like burn away the like Neptunian fog so we can like see and like truly harness that, the creativity, the magic, the mysticism, the psychic abilities, the like true understanding of the intangible that is Neptune. And when that happens, it's also in opposition to Atlantis. So it's almost like shining that like light through the fog and like onto that Atlantis point, which is in Virgo, the sign of service. And that's really what this story is about. It's about finding the balance between service to self and service to others. Lemurian consciousness was very like service to others, and it didn't have that like developed individuality that we have today. And like the age that we're in now is very service to self, and we need a balanced energy between both of them to be able to navigate this realm. And I feel that is what happened in Atlantis, was that we fell way too in service to self, which is what led to where we are at today, so far removed from source that we have transhumanism and things like that. And we're being shown a lot of these timelines right now, particularly those of us who have this asteroid conjunct or playing a key part in our natal charts. And this is really going to shine some light on whatever the story has been about for you. And it could be a plethora of things. I've talked to so many of you. I know it's there. And also I would like to say, YouTube, I am on to you. Okay. You guys know I've been in this rabbit hole my whole life. I have been Googling and searching Atlantis on YouTube every single night of my life and scrolling through and watching every video they have on anything that's even remotely decent. I've probably watched it. And so I know what the algorithm used to look like, and I know what the feed used to look like. And starting about, I should ask Eddie, how long have I been complaining about this for? Starting like 2 weeks ago, no, maybe like 3 weeks ago, the whole algorithm changed. So now when you go into YouTube and you type the word Atlantis, ancient archaeology, or just even the word Atlantis, but you can even get closer and even try to be like archaeology, esoterica, occult, whatever it is. And you used to get a bunch of stuff. Wasn't decent, most of it was crap, but you'd get a bunch of stuff. Now, all you get is stuff about the BBC show, the Disney movie, a bunch of video games that are about Atlantis, and the Bahamas resort, videos and videos and videos about the Bahamas resort, and you have to scroll forever to find anything. So people must be searching for this right now, because I'm heavily censored whenever I talk about it. And they are completely censoring it on YouTube. So I think this is not just coming through for us, but for other people as well. And the moon conjuncts the galactic center on that day. So not only do we have the sun in alignment with Neptune shining light onto that Atlantis energy for us and really illuminating something, initiating something, we also have our moon, our intuitive psychic abilities, aligned with the galactic center, and it's like higher mind. It'll be in Sagittarius as well. So we're really going to be able to piece some things together. This is tomorrow. Find time to meditate and journal and stuff like that. And also, I need to remember to link it below, but you guys can find it on my, I'm making myself a list because I forget everything, you guys. Oh, I wrote it down already. Oh my God. Pisces season. My intergalactic astral projection meditation on YouTube. It's like a long astral projection with binaural beats and imagery if you want, or you can lay down and use headphones if you want to try to like connect more in the astral realm. It's really great to use during this month around the 6th with that galactic center activation, and then over around our Supragalactic center activation as well. I highly recommend trying out that meditation. It'll be linked below eventually, or you can find it on YouTube. It's just my Starseed meditation. Okay, so if it wasn't already timeliney enough, oh, people are saying stuff to me. Tell us. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm off on a bunch of tangents. I didn't prepare a bunch of notes like I normally do, and I was like, I'm just gonna wing it. We're just gonna see what comes through. And I'm like, the New World Order and Atlantis. All right, let me go over here. Okay, so if it doesn't already feel all timeliney enough, on the 7th, the moon is going to transit, the 7th and the 8th, the moon is going to transit over Lyra. Lyra is, I believe, the like same energetic blueprint. It's actually the point I used to use for Atlantis before I knew there was a asteroid Atlantis. I didn't know until Rick told me that there was an asteroid Atlantis in Merlin. And as soon as he told me that, I knew right away that I had alignments. I was like, not even like, oh, I wonder. I was like, okay, where are they? And I went and looked, and Atlantis is perfectly conjunct my South Node and my Sun, and Merlin is perfectly conjunct my Venus. And man, do I love Merlin, always, my whole life. And I was like not at all surprised. But I didn't know about Atlantis, and for the longest time with my original starseed charts, because they have morphed over time, I used the Lyra placements for every point of cataclysm in the past, and I think it has just played out more here on Earth. I think it's even connected to perhaps Mars and Venus are said to have once been habitable, and we lived there and destroyed those planets as well. Lyra has that energy of cataclysm. It's also said that there is a planet that is now the asteroid belt that's known as like Vulcan, that we destroyed with a bomb, and that we're playing these same energies out now. And Atlantis was a similar like construct, like a energetic karmic print that we're playing out again, or like almost like a computer program until we get it right, like a video game, you know. And so during the 7th and 8th, the moon is going to transit over Lyra. So after we have a lot of these like Atlantean things come through, we're probably going to retreat even farther into the recesses of our like subconscious, because it's the moon, to hopefully heal some of these crossing timelines that stem back even farther. We might be just doing this on a subconscious level or like in dream space as well, because it is still Pisces season. So a lot is really happening in dream time. Neptune is also involved. So a lot of this stuff might be happening in dreams. We might, instead of like the sun and Neptune conjuncting and shining on Atlantis, I was talking before, and having like huge aha moments in your waking life, you might just have like super clear dreams where you're just like, oh, that was prophetic and totally made sense, and thank you, I get it now, type of thing. So on the 9th, we have Venus square the North Node. Venus here in Pisces will square the North Node here in Gemini. Venus in Pisces is here with the Sun and Neptune. These are like the most creative planets ever. Also, the moon is still going to be with Lyra as well, just like it was leading up to this. Lyra, not only is it about cataclysms, but it also is said to be the star of like music and artists and like creativity. And so are these planets. And so I really feel that around the 9th and the 10th, try to harness something creative. Try to take advantage of this like Venusian, Neptunian creative energy and utilize that. Take action. The squares want you to take action. If you don't take the action, some sort of action will be taken with you. And this could revolve around like relationships or shattered illusions, because the sun is conjuncting Neptune. But we can also harness this for our benefit, and we can use it to really tap into our creative abilities and take some sort of initiated action in order to lean in to this Gemini North Node that we're cultivating throughout all this eclipse energy that we'll be experiencing later this year as this story culminates for us. On the 10th, is when the sun will be perfectly conjunct Neptune. So like I said, that will probably bring some sort of shattered illusions, some sort of like clear psychic downloads, and really a lot of creative energy. It really will. I've already wanted to paint. I told the kids that we were gonna do some stuff around the equinox and do some painting, but I'm thinking that that's gonna be a really great day, especially for like intuitive, like I like to paint a lot of like symbolism and things into my paintings. I think that day would be a really great day to channel something into art. On the 11th is when we're going to have our new moon live stream. Oh, the 9th and the 10th and the 11th, the moon will be transiting over Cygnus. So I'm really going over these starseed points in like a brief fashion to try to sum them up into like an archetype. When they have expanded energy, like we can dive very deeply into like the consciousness of these stars. But for Cygnus, what I always see is like it's a test. Cygnus is that like cosmic test. It's said to be the bird that meets you in the afterlife, and it's presents you with a test, and if you pass this test, you move on to whatever is next, and if you don't, you have to repeat. And whenever Cygnus energy comes through, it has that sort of energy about it, like tests, and it also channels in very, very ancient codes. Cygnus, Göbekli Tepe is actually said to be aligned with Cygnus, and lots of like old megalithic structures, archaeoastronomers say that it aligns with Cygnus. Cygnus is one of the star systems that aligns with some of these very ancient ones, including Göbekli Tepe. So I feel that it has that kind of like ancient energy about it, and it has that sort of like presents us with an opportunity to move beyond, move to the next level, but it requires us to do something different. And these are like little karmic tests that we've probably failed time and time and time again. So pay attention around this time, because you might be presented with something, and the sun is going to be conjuncting with Neptune. So this is probably like other timeliney things that we're being shown and being asked to take a different route this time. And on the 11th, we have our new moon live stream. So hopefully I make sense around that time. The sun's going to be conjunct Neptune. I could be totally delusional, or I could be like the clearest psychic ever. Who knows? We'll see. So on the 13th is actually when our Pisces moon is exact. And Venus is conjunct Neptune on that day. So look at this stellium here in Pisces. This is when you really plant the seeds of inspiration. This is when a lot of the creative energy, the fertilizing the soil, like we talked in our last video, the soil that we're going to use to plant our seeds in spring. This is when a lot of the creative juices flow, the ideas come, the inspiration comes, and it's flowing in from like other dimensions, other realms, parallel U's from all over. It's going to be a beautiful moon. We'll talk more about it. It's definitely playing off of the nodes. So it's asking us to plant some seeds for the same sort of like eclipse energy as well. This is the creative energy that we're going to use throughout our next zodiac cycle, because once we go into Aries season, we're starting a new zodiac cycle, and this is the fertile ground that we use to plant the seeds that are going to culminate throughout that. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my other slides to talk about the major shifts that happen this month and the differences between, okay, hold on. Everybody is agreeing. Tell us. Okay. Yes, I know I'm having connections in my dreams, but I'm not remembering them, and I feel it's on purpose. Yeah, I think that we don't always have to remember them. I do think that is on purpose. I would agree with you for sure. So I'm going to go back to my slides, and I'm going to talk about how something I actually just learned, and I did not know. So put my face here. Hi guys. Okay, so this time of month, both of our equinoxes, whether that's the one in September or the one in March, both of these points, I was always under the impression were the period of time where we have the exact 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of nighttime. And apparently that is not the case. Apparently there's what is known as an equinox and there's what is known as an equilux. And they are different. So I have a chart on the next slide where you can see where your equilux is, but I'm just going to go ahead and read these really quick so we can talk about how they're different. The equinox happens this year on March 20th. It's usually somewhere around the 19th or the 20th. It's exact at 2:37 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can change that to your time zone if you would like. The word equinox is derived from the Latin words meaning equal and nox, meaning night, which I think is really cool because that's the spell they use in Harry Potter to turn off their wands. Turning off the light. This is the day. On the day of the equinox, daytime and nighttime are of approximately equal duration all over the planet. This is the date twice a year at which the sun crosses the celestial equator, somewhere around September 20th, March 20th. And so it's the exact same time all over the whole planet because it's calculated as to when the sun crosses over that celestial equator, and then you pick your time zone, and that is the same time for everybody. Now, apparently, there is a thing called an equilux that is different. and it is decided depending upon your latitude. So very similar to our, what's it called? Lion's Gate post, when I was talking about the helical rising of the sun, of the star Sirius, and how it is different depending on your latitude. It's a similar concept. And I'll show you on the next slide. So an equinox, and that means equal light. So equinox means equal night, and equinox means equal light in Latin. Equinox and equinox are similar but not interchangeable. Equinox is the day when we get equal day and night, which means the sun is set for 12 hours and we see the sun up at least partially above the horizon for 12 hours. Equinox is usually a few days before or after the equinox and is based on latitude. And you guys can take a screenshot on the next one to see where yours is. If you don't know your latitude, you can Google your address and ask for the latitude, or you can look at your birth chart. It's probably on there, the latitude and longitude. This time of month, in addition to this equinox date, which is the 20th, the equinox date, which is depending upon your latitude, a date that you'll see here in a second. We also have the motherfucking time change happening on the 14th. And I realize this is a conspiracy to fuck with our periods of equilibrium, because the only time they change the time is spring forward, fall back, and they do it right when we're starting to tap into this sense of equilibrium. Right now we're feeling this. Oh, I feel this approaching equilibrium, and on the 14th they're going to change our clocks and we're all going to be disoriented trying to acclimate to that, when in just a couple of days we're going to have, actually probably around the 14th, many of us will be having our equinox, and then on the 20th it's the equinox. But it's going to be hijacked, and it is every year, by the time change. And I was like, honey, I found a conspiracy. And he's like, yeah, dude, they did it. They did that. And they've been doing it forever. And it's definitely an American thing. It's not done in many, many other countries. So that's why I wanted to add that question mark. Period of equilibrium, question mark. We're going to have to try to find ways to acclimate and still harness these periods. And I think it's through intention. I think this equinox was also hidden from us, because that is the actual period of time with the sun in the day and night are of equal balance. I think we need to harness each one of these. We need to harness the equinox in some fashion. We need to harness the equinox in our own personal time and be very intentional about it, and also know, because just knowing it, we can diffuse it. So also being very conscious and aware on the 14th when the time changes, and just doing things to try and acclimate and find that harmonious balance. I know, and I am very guilty of this, I will complain about the time change for weeks, about how I feel all off, and I feel out of this, and it just doesn't, I hate this, and blah, blah, blah. And that is going to interfere with the balance and equilibrium that we're going to be trying to harness over this week period. So we got to try not to do that. We also have the Supragalactic center alignment, which will be considered aligned with the sun at the moment of the equinox, but is exact on the 23rd in alignment with the Venus. I see that I have a bunch of things in the chat, so I'm going to go over here really quick. Hold on. Everybody's saying, oh my goodness, and damn. And that's why they won't change it, Jessica says. Yes. And then Janelle says, and then they change it. Well, not here in Arizona. And I'm not used to that being from Cali, LOL. I always calculate hour behind because everyone I talk to is in California, but man. And then Josie says, it always takes me weeks to reorient after a time change. Yes, me too. And Janelle says, I feel it this past year. My change to detach with it. It feels good. Honestly, right now, I don't really even know time. I have no sense of time right now. and I don't get out of the house enough. So I probably won't feel it as much, but it definitely, if it were just me, it'd be different. But because I have to like put my kids to bed at a certain time and stuff, that's when I'm like, what? It's this time? What is happening? Oh, wait, it's time to make dinner? What's happening? Type of thing. And Josie says, so be intentional to change it, to change that story. Gotcha. Yeah, that's when I was like, okay, I see this agenda. I see them hijacking this period of time. It's our only period throughout each year. They do it in the spring, they do it in the autumn. What do we do? And I think it's just being intentional, maybe even lighting. I'm going to do like candle work on the Equinox, and also on my Equinox. And I think I'm going to do one like a uncrossing type candle to like, with protection on the 14th against whatever kind of fuckery this is, because it's giving me, it's giving me vibes. So feel free to take a screenshot here. This is from the website timeanddate.com, so you can Google that if you want. And this is for both the March and the September Equinox dates, per latitude. I need a pillow because my back is killing me. Per latitude. So I live on the 33rd parallel. I live on 33 degrees northern latitude. So I can't point at this, but mine is going to be kind of around the 16th. And you guys can just look and see where yours is and when yours might fall. So I'm going to be working with this energy around the 14th. That's the time change. The 16th is when this actual period of like equilibrium happens between daytime and nighttime, light and dark. And then the sun crosses that celestial equator at the vernal equinox, starting a new zodiac cycle and initiating the spring equinox on the 20th at 2:37 a.m. So it's really like a 3-part thing where we're going to be feeling that majorly portal-y energy again as well throughout that week. So feel free to take a screenshot here. I'm going to move my face because I don't want my face in all your screenshots. Hold on. Okay, do it now. Oh, we'll come back for that. Okay. So we're going to go back to solar fire because we've already only kind of made it to our time change. We're halfway through the month. Okay. So I'm going to go back over to my software. Hopefully the camera's better. I put it over here so it's not shaking. I tweaked it a little bit, but I'm afraid to mess with the settings because I keep messing them up. So hard. I'm not good with tech. Okay. I have the Muppet Show song stuck in my head because my kids have been watching the Muppet Show all day. Okay. So we have a couple of like planetary shifts. We had Mars enter Gemini, which we already talked about. And then we have Mercury, which has been in Aquarius. So even though we have had it feeling like we're just drowning in Piscean energy, we still were in our heads, even though we were very much in our feelings and processing things through those like empathic feeling in tuning abilities. We would then overthink it, whatever it is we were shown, and get back in our head about it and very Aquarian and literal, like just a little bit too literal. He's also been processing some sort of story. So he had to like go backwards, He hasn't caught up really yet with where we've kind of moved into. He's kind of compartmentalized and had to go and like retrace something and redo something. That is going to start to wrap up now, but it'll really culminate on the 15th when Mercury finally leaves Aquarius, where he's been in his retrograde cycle, and enters Pisces. And then things are going to be working more kind of harmoniously and together. And then he can start to integrate a lot of what has been dug up by the sun and Venus and Neptune into our consciousness. Mercury is the messenger of the gods. I say this all the time. Mercury is the bringer of consciousness. He is our intermediary between the other planets, all of the planetary energies. When he comes through is when we can really be like, oh, okay, and integrate it into our consciousness. He's direct right now. All planets are actually direct, except for Atlantis. Atlantis, which isn't a planet, it's an asteroid, is retrograde. So we're still retreating when it comes to that energy, but everything else is going to be moving forward. And this is really when we're going to be able to like integrate into our conscious mind a lot of these psychic activations that have been taking place during Pisces that really haven't made any sense, because Pisces just doesn't make sense. But that's the magic of Pisces. Like, it's like trying to label the magical realm. It's so vast, and magic is just everything and everywhere. It's just is. And that's Pisces. It's that like energy of the Akash, the cosmic womb that births the next season, that is Aries. Me and Josie were talking about that a lot lately. And we've been there. The sun helps. The sun does help when the sun will be coming over Neptune. The sun does help bring some clarity to help us come up from the Piscean waters, take a breath of air and see. Will illuminate some clarity for us. But when Mercury comes in, that will help as well. We will, however, our communication styles are going to very much shift. We're going to be extremely sensitive and the emotional energy is going to ramp up a little bit, especially once then the sun moves into Aries, and we still will have a bunch of Pisces planets and then some Aries planets. So that's going to be the fire and water together, and that could be a very recipe for like explosive, dramatic, over the top emotional outbursts, but sometimes we need that to be able to process. So, you know, if that happens, work through it. But I always like to try to intentionally use these planets so that I have a little bit more control over how they manifest, so that they don't just kind of take it up to themselves as to how they want to manifest. So again, with the Pisces energy, the same time that we're shifting into Aries season, we're taking some sort of initiative and planting some sort of spring seeds. A lot of this is going to revolve around creative pursuits, creativity. I know Josie's been talking about how she has a lot of these offerings, and she's starting to get into them, and she was waiting for an order of like supplies and stuff. And I am in a similar position. I have lots of things that I have like been creating, but then Mercury had me redo some stuff. Pisces had me retreat in, and a lot more like creative ideas came through. And now I'm going to start to be able to actually dive in, now that Mercury is moving in there, dive in and tangibly do these things that I've been like developing through this Piscean energy, and like actually integrate it and take the action. What was I going to say? Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing. It's going to be actively working with these planets. Okay, these planets are asking me to create. They're asking me to tap into that energy of creation. How am I going to do that? What am I going to do? I'm going to be working on a lot of the new offerings that I have, that I'm creating as well, that have been in the works for a while. And I just haven't had the motivation, because, you know, Pisces does that to you. But it's so you can retreat in and receive these energy, these like, they're not just downloads. It's like where you like almost just merge with the Akashic realm. And it's not even just like downloads coming in. It's like you are part of that cosmic womb. and you can just tap into all that is. And it's like almost like through osmosis that you like need to retreat into the Piscean waters so that you can integrate all of this stuff into you. And then you use all that you obtained while traveling beyond the veil to plant those seeds in Aries season, those new initiations that we're going to watch culminate. I went off on a tip. I don't even know what day we're on here. What are we talking about? Oh, Mercury entering Pisces. Okay, yeah, that's what I was talking about. That was all Mercury entering Pisces. Okay. So we have a bunch of sextiles happening later this month, okay? On the 16th, the sun will sextile Pluto. So the sun here will sextile Pluto in Capricorn. Mars will sextile Chiron on the 17th. And Venus will then come in, even though Venus will be in play here this whole time. Venus will then sextile Pluto on the 18th. So this is asking us to transform and integrate wounds. Take action when it comes to working through some of these core wounds that are revolving around the self. We've talked a lot about how Chiron is transiting through Aries. He's going to be here for a while, and he's digging deep into the recesses of the self, our persona, our identity, in order to find all these core wounds that we've carried through lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and help us to integrate them, the knowledge and the wisdom that they hold. All these sextiles, the sun sextile Pluto on the 16th, Mars sextile Chiron on the 17th, and Venus sextile Pluto on the 18th, are asking us to purge, integrate, and work through some of this energy. Now, these are sextiles, so they could just kind of come and pass. I tend to notice sextiles manifest in a way where it's like it has the energy of a trine, so it's beneficial, and the planets want to work together, and they want to like up level you and help you to integrate these planetary bodies that are ready to work together, but it doesn't have to happen. While some other transits like squares, you can either take the action and move, or the action will happen for you and you'll have to pick up the pieces later. Sextiles, it's kind of like, well, if you want this level of healing, if you want to tap into this, you can. Now, this energy isn't going to go anywhere, and it'll come back eventually to bite you in the ass, but right now you're being gifted this option to take the initiative. So around the 16th, the 17th, and the 18th, try to work through some stuff. If things are coming up for you to let go of, to process, find some time to do it around then. This is going to be smack dab in the middle of this portal, this time change, equinox portal. For many people, these are going to fall on their equinox days. So that is how we're going to find this balance and this equilibrium that this period is asking us to find, is by integrating and letting go of things that are coming up for us. And that's going to revolve around core wounds, traumas, and the transmutation of said things into gold, which is Pluto. Okay. On the 19th, we will have, and throughout that time, the moon is going to be transiting over Andromeda and then into the Pleiades. So Andromeda is that twin flame energy. So a lot of this stuff coming up could very much revolve around the divine partner, or just the divine partner within, which of course this whole period is going to revolve around with the balancing of the light and dark, the masculine and feminine energies. But in the Andromeda being very highlighted around this time might mean that your loved ones are mirroring a lot of these things to you in order for you to process. So pay attention to any sort of like shadow traits being mirrored to you around this time. And then again on the 18th, we have that Pleiadian energy where we can then integrate the mind and the heart, and really start to like discern from a higher perspective that is encompassing of both polarities, the feminine and the masculine. On the 19th, we have our cosmic Zoom meeting. So this is for the alignment tier and above of my Patreon, where we meet we have like a deep rabbit hole dive, and then the next 2 months we meet on Zoom, where we all are on video and we get to chat and connect with each other, and that'll be on the 19th. So again, Patreon's linked below if you'd like to join that. And then we have the equinox on the 20th. So I find it really interesting that the moon will be aligned with Orion on that day. Orion is the star system that symbolizes like extreme split and polarities. It falls in Gemini as well, which also really speaks to that like dualistic nature of our reality. So at the time that our sun is going to be aligning with the Supragalactic center, at the equinox, this balance point, our moon is going to be aligning with this split. And so it's really giving us that like triggering that energy in us in order for us to then seek the harmony and the balance. I'm noticing that on this day, I just noticed this right now, Atlantis is going to be at 11 degrees, 11 minutes of 11:11. It's going to be at 11 degrees, 11 minutes of Virgo. And that just like stood out to me and took me out of whatever I was saying. But that's cool. So the spring equinox is going to be on the 20th. I'm going to definitely have a post around then. I'll dive into that energy a lot more. But this is really when you want to start tapping into the concept of balancing, finding harmony within your life. It is in opposition to the galactic center. So, the Supragalactic center, which is in Libra, the sign of balance and harmony right now. And it's going to be playing very closely with Chiron once the sun actually makes it over there. It's then quickly going to transit Chiron. So this time period is very much going to be triggering healing of the self in order to come into balance and harmony within our surroundings, within our inner faculties, within our relationships. But really, I think it's happening more on a personal level. This is when we get to find that like personal equilibrium. And I think they know. I actually would, maybe somebody can Google, when did time changes start? I'm wondering like what year they even started that. Because I think they just really are trying to hijack this period of time where we can do so much like inner alchemy. Venus will enter Aries on the 21st. The same day that Mercury is going to sextile Uranus and Mars is going to trine Saturn. So Mercury sextiling Uranus is mental energy. It's mental energy the same time that Mars trining Saturn is asking us to take some sort of action. Venus entering Aries is also going to have us taking that action. We're in Aries season. We're going to feel that cardinal energy coming, and it's going to be prepping us for, we just would have set intentions a couple of days prior, or week prior, at the Pisces new moon. The next new moon is going to be an Aries new moon, and we're going to have all these new actions. Aries is a sign of action and initiations that we're going to be seeding at that time. And especially once Venus comes into play, Venus is our values. It comes to kind of balance out the sun and give it some structure and balance. It's also the planet of balance. But Venus is also going to conjunct Chiron later this month as well. So it is going to be a lot of heart purging, a lot of integration within the heart. So a lot of this inner alchemy that we are talking about here, the balancing of these Orion polarities, the harmonizing that can occur, this all happens in the heart space. And this Pleiadian energy that helps us balance the mind and heart helps us prepare for this. But we're really going to have this initiation, this heart expansion, and alchemical transmutation will occur when we have our Sun-Venus opposition to the galactic center, which even though the equinox is on the 20th, that doesn't happen until the 23rd. So on the 21st, when Venus starts to enter Aries, is when we're really going to start to feel that like big heart expansion, preparing us to dig deep into these core wounds that we may not have even been aware of because they were shoved so deep in there, and alchemize and obtain the wisdom. So on the 22nd, the moon is going to transit over Sirius here in Cancer. Whenever Sirius is activated, we are initiated to the next level of something. Sirius, I say, it wipes the sleep from our third eye. It's like awakening is an onion, and every time Sirius is activated, particularly by the sun, but the moon is at home in Cancer, so it really is working on channeling in intuitive abilities to us. It's a high priestess energy, and when it aligns with Sirius, it has that same sort of energy, that initiatory energy of like the ancient mysteries, helping us to see a little bit more truth within this reality. So we're going to have that happen right before the 23rd, when Venus and the sun here at 2 degrees of Aries, only a couple of degrees off from Chiron, so you may as well throw him in there with that mix as well, opposes the Supragalactic center. This is a huge day. Hopefully this is 9 days from the time change. Hope most people would have already been like, oh, the equinox is over, blah, 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 because they tell you about just the 20th. So hopefully we've had acclimated a little bit, because we took so much intention throughout the week before to prevent that, like, our equilibrium being thrown off by the time change, that on the 23rd we can really harness this sun conjunct the Venus, our heart, in the sign of the self, really helping to expand the heart so we can dig deep into those chironic wounds. Is that a word? Chironic? It is now. It sounds good. Chronic. Chironic. Wounds. And the Supragalactic center. The Supragalactic center is, for those of you who are new, I mean, if you followed me for a while, I'm sure you've heard me talk about it. I definitely recommend watching like the Ophiuchus video. I dive super heavy into black holes there. And in other videos, I've talked about it so many times. My sun and my south node align with that point. So I talk about it all the time, but everybody should, because it's very relevant. The Supragalactic center is known as M87, and it is the black hole that the Milky Way and I used to say 27 other galaxies rotate around, but I've done more research and I guessed it's like well over 100, and there's like smaller like satellite galaxies. So like a lot of our galactic neighbors rotate around this point, and it is believed to be one of the most ancient black holes, I mean, that we can see and grasp. And so it's said to be like one of the first stars after the Big Bang that went supernova. So it holds very, very, very ancient codes and access to like other realms, because black holes are entry points to somewhere else. Where? I don't know. But whenever they're activated, we feel this presence. And this is that like point that holds us all together. Just like our galactic center holds all of the stars around the Milky Way, so that we are a galactic family. This connects us to our greater galactic family, and it shoots energy from its center. And when we are in alignment with that, it's very much going to be entering in through our heart space. Our heart chakra is going to be so activated around this point, and it is in order to find harmony and balance. We might be extremely triggered around this point, and it might be like the most unbalanced point of equilibrium. That's another reason why I wanted to put the question mark right there. We have Mercury square Mars on that day as well. And Mercury is opposite Atlantis on that day. So we're going to be having things come through about this storyline that's been playing out. The same time that like we're having some sort of conflict between the action we're taking and the information that's coming through. Or information is going to come through that's going to require us to take some action. This period of time, the next day Mercury is going to actually square the North Node as well. So this action that we're having take is going to very much be connected to this eclipse story that we've been seeing play out. So that being said, whatever we see might be manifesting more on a collective level, like in the mundane world, than perhaps on a personal level, particularly with this like Mercury square Mars and the North Node at the same time, because eclipses, they shift the collective as well. They shift the entire collective and our reality. So we could very much be seeing something happening in the mundane world around that time. Gemini. Yeah, and it could have a lot to do with technology, with belief systems as well, ideologies, different points of view conflicting, and then like the delusions and illusions that reside from said ideologies, and the idealism that people hold when it comes to their preferred information that they have deemed as truth. So yeah, I don't really know what's going to be happening in the world around that time, but we definitely want to harness the 23rd. The 23rd is our yearly opposition with the Galactic, Supragalactic Center, and Venus is in play as well. So we definitely want to take advantage of this, because these planets, if we don't take advantage of this in just a couple of days, Venus will conjunct Chiron on the 28th, and the Sun will conjunct Chiron on the 29th. So they're going to come right into conjunction with those wounds. You can't run from them. Look at it. It's only a little bit space. Dive in. Let this help you, because you're going to have to process some stuff. Okay, so find alignment with the natural energies. Our ancients built these structures for a reason. I believe they built these structures to track the precessional cycle. So I believe, even though we didn't discover these black holes until recently, I believe that they already knew about them, because many of these ancient structures that harness the light on this day have the light shine directly onto a spiral. And to me, that spiral is symbolizing these black holes. And I think that this precessional cycle was partially tracking not partially tracking, it was tracking the stars and the black holes rotation around the zodiac, which takes 26,000 years. And I go into this in my Atlantis rabbit hole about how we're at a mirror point on this precessional cycle as it was at the end of the Younger Dryas period and the end of the last ice age. So I definitely recommend checking that out if you are a Patreon, because I'm not going to get on that tangent right now, but it's my jam, so I'm sure I'll go there at some point. So we talked about on the 24th, Mercury is also going to be coming into that exact square with the nodes. So these are fated things. The nodes are hit so much this month. These are fated redirection points. On the 25th, Venus is going to conjunct the sun exactly. That'll be the exact point, even though it was already very much playing off of that. Still in alignment with the galactic center on this time. Really, from about the 14th to Draco and Atlantis on the 29th to the full moon. Oh, the sun conjuncts Chiron on the 20th. Okay, from about the 14th to the end of the month, from the last half of the month is really going to be working to find this balance, working with a lot of the heart space, trying to expand the heart space. I definitely recommend getting with Chiron on Discord because she's been practicing a lot of like heart math and different breathing exercises and things to be able to really work with this sort of space. I think that would be a really great thing to do around this time as well. And then, through the end of the month, because we have all these Chiron activations. So it's really the Supragalactic Center activation is just prepping us for all the work we're going to do for the rest of the month. Where are we at? The 25th is when the Venus conjuncts the sun, and the moon will transit over Ursa Major. So the moon will start to come into alignment with Ursa Major stars throughout Leo and Virgo. Whenever Ursa Major comes, I always really get like earthy, very earthy vibes, more so when it hits the Virgo stars. But you start to feel it in why can't I talk? The Leo constellation stars as well, not the constellation, the zodiac houses as well. Ursa Major is the bear, and it very much resonates to that like earthy energy of animal symbolism, animal totems, herbalism, crystals, grounding into that like earthly energy. We need to remember that we're moving from Pisces into Aries. Neither one of these are grounded energies at all. The only Earth placements we have right now is Uranus in Taurus, who's not happy. He doesn't want to be there. And Pluto at the ending degrees of Capricorn, who's doing a whole bunch of like deep shadow work. And then we have Atlantis over here in Virgo. Those are the only like earthy energies we have. So around this time, particularly when we're in this weird portal-y energy, we're coming off of this time change. We're trying to integrate all these energies, cosmic energies that are coming through. Ursa Major, the moon activation on the 25th, like make sure you take advantage of that somehow. You should be grounding throughout this whole time, but it might be kind of hard. But there is definitely going to be beneficial energy coming through on the 25th and into the 26th and the 27th that help us to ground down. And it's also going to be happening through like allies, plant allies, animal allies, crystals. Those all really resonate a lot with that energy. Our full moon live stream will be on the 27th, but Mars conjuncts the North Node on the 26th. So that's pretty relevant. Mars, who's already been transiting over here, is going to initiate some kind of eclipsey type energy. That's why I said this month is really going to feel like a honorary eclipse portal. Between all this weird equinox stuff, the fact that we're going to have our equilibrium thrown up with a time change, and all the stuff happening to the nodes, particularly Mars conjuncting it on the 26th, and a lot of the squares asking us to do stuff, it's triggering this energy. So pay attention around the 26th, because whatever this eclipse story has been bringing up for you and asking you to do and pointing you in the direction of, the fated sort of like karmic energy tied to that is going to be, have a little sort of like fire lit under it on the 26th. Now this is great. This is just action taken in the direction that you're supposed to be going, but the North Node always requires a lot of work. It's not easy. So you're going to be required to do something. Mars wants you to definitely take some sort of action. So our moon is on the 28th. It's going to be a Libra full moon. So while we've been working since the 14th to try to find this balance, we have a bunch of Chiron stuff happening, including the day of that moon. Venus conjuncts Chiron, and then the sun will conjunct Chiron the next day. They're both conjunct Chiron the day of the moon. We're doing a lot of work, a lot of internal work within the self, Aries. We're going to have a culmination. We're going to have a culmination of energy on the 28th, when the moon will be, I think the moon is exact. I think it's at 8 degrees. Hold on. Yeah, 8 degrees. So the moon is still totally going to be conjunct the supragalactic center. We have Venus conjunct Chiron, the sun conjunct Chiron. This is when we're going to have a culmination of the balance if we've done a lot of this work. Now, black holes are twofold. Like, trust me, I know. I have one conjunct my south node. That thing can either like destroy you or hold you together and like align you. And it really, especially this one, because it falls at our equinox points, particularly in Libra, it demands balance. It demands you to find a balance. So you're going to be we're going to have a Libra full moon where we're going to have a culmination of this balance. A lot of the work we've put in, we're going to feel the rewards and be able to harness a lot of that. We're also going to be asked to release some stuff in order to come into said balance. So we'll talk about that more when we have our full moon video over on Patreon. But it's definitely going to revolve a lot around Chiron. But so it's going to be very healing. It's definitely going to be very healing. I think it's going to be a beautiful moon. This month, even though like I'm talking about like this time change and these Chiron activations, like it's actually a really beautiful month. It really is. It's going to ask us to take some sort of initiative when it comes to our healing process. And then we just have a couple of sextiles here at the end of the month that we'll cover really quick. On the 30th, Venus will sextile Saturn. So again, this is a lot of the work, okay? You're coming into a sextile with Saturn, the planet of hard work. He's also the great teacher, and he really wants us to level up. He wants us to take accountability and responsibility. Now we've started to integrate a lot of these things, and now is when we show Saturn what it is that we learned. And that's going to really happen here towards the end of the month. On the 30th, Venus will come into its exact sextile with the North Node as well, when the Sun then reaches its sextile with Saturn. So we're going to have these planets sextiling Saturn the same time that they are sextiling the same time that they sextile the North Node, which it looks like they didn't draw that in here. And it also doesn't look like that makes sense unless it's later in the day. Venus sextiling Saturn, the Sun sextiling Saturn. Yeah, Venus, it's not until 14th. Oh, I didn't change my date. That's why. It's on the 31st. My bad. Okay, yeah. Venus will sextile Saturn on the 31st. We'll sextile the nodes on the 31st. So we're going to have to do some sort of hard work the same time that we're being shown this direction that this hard work is leading us to. So first we're going to integrate a lot of wounds. Then Saturn's going to come and be like, okay, what kind of responsibility are you going to take and what kind of action are you going to take? Because Mars is here in this North Node asking us to take action in the direction of our destiny. And that is really what all this integration and alchemical transmutation of opposites, of polarities, of wounds, of wisdom is asking us to do throughout this month, is all in preparation for what these eclipses are pointing us in the direction of, which I'm sure you guys already have an idea about. Gemini rules my 10th house, and Sag rules my 4th, and I'm very much feeling this in the area of career and home, and trying to find a balance while working from home and trying to start a business and all kinds of things. And I'm feeling this very much, and I'm willing to bet you guys are as well. So that's all I have for you guys today. I have a card that I pulled, though, that I'm going to read out of this book. I'm just going to read these. Oh, my legs. I'm just going to read these things really quick. Okay, hopefully I made sense. I went off on a whole bunch of tangents. Everybody's talking about the time change. Patience, yes, Josie. That's another thing Saturn is going to ask us to do as well. Patience, hard work, diligence in order to build some sort of structure. These planets really are going to need a structure in order to implement this direction that the nodes are pointing us in. Josie's so grounded. She always grounds me down. And Janelle says, yes, yes. And Josie says, she loves me. Okay. So here, where's my face? Okay. I can be bigger. Fancy. Okay. So my camera sucks, but it is better now. Okay. So this is the card I pulled from the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck, and I just asked, like, what is the overall archetype for March? And I pulled this card, and I was like, dude, that card looks so Aries. It's before I even read it, I was like, yeah, this sounds about right. And it says the threshold, and you can see up at the top, it's us standing in Pisces season, in the dark cosmic womb of Pisces, on the threshold of that like red Aries energy of a new zodiac cycle, of a new story. And we're very much on the threshold right now. As we're talking about this, we're very much in this like limbo type energy. Again, it brings me back to the weird, we're in like a pseudo eclipse season right now. I need some more honey. Okay, the threshold, the door, the gate, the initiation. We cross thresholds continually, consciously and unconsciously. Doorways, gates, and entryways grace our path on a daily basis. When this card arises, it signifies that the precipice you stand upon is not your typical one. However, you have arrived at a threshold of initiation, here to usher you into a new reality. It requires you to leave behind the you that you thought was so well formed. A new frontier calls. This is not easy work. Threshold initiation means a part of you will be lost in order to make space for what is next. A metaphorical death must occur. Must occur. Some may not recognize you. You may struggle to recognize yourself. The ground seems to crumble as you free fall into your new reality. This is the liminal realm. One step, dear friend. Just take that one necessary step towards the future that calls you. And then it always breaks down the archetype, like when it's like evolved and when it's in like a lower octave. And like the more evolved energy is growth, individuation, ease, and the liminal. When in the dark, resisting, refusal to grow, barriers and boundaries. And then it says, crossing a threshold may not always be voluntary. Sometimes we are thrown across the boundary through circumstances far beyond our control. And these nodes are going to do that. Nodes act kind of like Uranus. They're just, nope, you're doing this now. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Far beyond our control. Either way, we cannot go back. And that's the card for this month. And yeah, hopefully it's good. I have some notes here. I forgot. What did I write here? Oh, this was about the megalithic stuff. Oh, I don't know if I said this, that they found like 7,000 skeletons in the Malta hypogeum, and many of them had elongated skulls and have since disappeared. And that I think that all of these places were Atlantean refuge sites. And yeah, watch the Atlantis video if you haven't already. Now is a great time. This energy is super prevalent throughout this month. And hopefully that calendar helps you. It seems like everybody seems to really be enjoying the calendar. Josie says, so perfect. Threshold is such a rad word and so describes these times. Yeah, for sure. That's really where we're at right now. And I think in like a multitude of ways. On like the world stage as well. And also, you guys know me, I have to also just throw out there that the occult factions that think they rule our reality use Equinox and solstice dates to initiate agendas. And be mindful. Also, the Pisces new moon. Pisces rules secret societies and hidden agendas because it governs the 12th house. So yeah, I think that the Pisces new moon might be something to watch when it comes to like the mundane realm. Also around the equinox, and then later when that Mercury squares Mars too, you know. I don't know. A lot of things are happening right now that I'm not going to talk about here, but I will post some stuff that was sent to me recently on Discord. But I appreciate you guys so much. Oh, and I made that Atlantis Rabbit Hole, what's it called? Playlist live on YouTube. So you guys can go and watch that. It should be public. I just did it. So there's like 40 something videos in there, and it will be never ending. I'm sure some will get added there tonight. I'm in the middle of a Randall Carlson podcast, and he's like diving into all the archaeology and like the mid-Atlantic ridge and how the plates like could have consumed this whole area of the Atlantic after the end of the last ice age. And you guys know I touched on how I thought that may have been a pole shift, which makes a lot of sense. But anyway, I'm diving deep into that. So I'll be adding more of those as well. And then I need to go through and add other things. But just feel free to check it whenever. And you're welcome, Josie. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you guys. I will see you for our next video on the 11th, which is the new moon live stream for the Pisces new moon, and we are going to work some magic. Pisces is the sign of magic. All right, bye guys.